From day one, we are told who we should be, how to live, and what's acceptable. Before we even have a chance to discover ourselves, our society has already drawn those lines for us. But what happens when those lines are keeping us from knowing and embracing who we truly are? Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, a podcast about unpacking and unlearning everything that's kept you from living as your true self. Through honest conversations about your internal emotional landscape, sexuality, coming out later in life, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance, we break free from the boxes we never chose. Hello, and welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If you've been listening into the podcast from the beginning, or you follow me on social media, you might know that I lost my second parent, my father, in March of 2024. And it took me a number of months, I'd say 6 months to a year, to get through the business of death, which was extremely stressful. And in the process of going through everything that I needed to settle out his life and my parents' lives together, their home and all of that, I was able to purchase my first home, as in a house, outside of New York City. And that happened in November of 2024. And in the process of trying to become comfortable in a new space, in a new town, in a new county, in a very different way of living than the way I have lived since 1993. I've been living in New York City since 1993. I was trying to build some community and find some new friends up here. And in light of that, I was contacted by somebody who was creating a group for therapists in the Hudson Valley region, which is where my house is, that was going to be a meetup for therapists that work doing IFS, internal family systems. And that is the primary model that I use in my therapy. So I was pretty excited because I really didn't know anybody in this area. I can tell you it was a very lonely winter and very cold, very dark, and very lonely. And in February of 2025, I ventured out to a meet and greet. Now, if any of you know me from going through the Unbox Your Sexuality program, you will know, because I self-disclose, that I am extremely introverted. I am introverted. I am not a person that works the room. I am the person that sits and just watches everybody in the room and kind of takes it all in, but I don't work a room. And going to a meet and greet where I know absolutely nobody is definitely intimidating for me as the introvert that I am. But I ventured out, and it was at this particular event that I connected to a woman that had recently also bought a house up here and also was in the city, obviously also as a therapist, because this was an event for therapists, and had said at the event that she was looking to build community as well. And I, for some reason, felt extremely comfortable going up to this woman. We have since struck up a beautiful friendship. My friend's name is Charlotte, and she is joining me today on the podcast. Charlotte is a straight woman, and this episode is about me, an very out loud and proud lesbian, befriending a very straight woman. And Charlotte shares a little bit of what that was like for her. And I found that quite interesting. And we go over a bunch of different other interesting themes in our discussion today. So I hope that you enjoy this episode. I love that she joined me here as my only straight guest thus far. And this is the 25th episode of the show. So welcome, Charlotte. And I hope that you enjoy the episode. Please like, follow, share, comment, and thanks for being here. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, Samantha.
It's so wonderful having you here as my guest and my newest. Are you my newest friend? I don't think you're my newest friend, but you're one of my newer friends.
I'll take that.
Yeah. So I'm so excited to have you on because actually I'm thinking I've done like 24 episodes. Some of them I've done by myself, but I don't think I've ever had on a straight person.
Whoa.
So that's something to celebrate.
I suppose. And what a task here to represent straight.
Totally.
I'll try to do them well.
Uh,
It's okay.
yeah. So there's a couple different reasons why I thought it would be fun to talk with you here on the podcast. One of them is I love our conversations. Whenever we get together, it's like 3 hours goes by and it's like, oh my God, it's getting late. I have to work tomorrow. But we always have these great conversations.
Yeah.
And then one thing that I remember very specifically was, I think it was the first time you and I went for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And that was back last winter. And I don't know if you remember when we had our initial meeting. What month was that? Was it like February?
I think it was February. It was definitely still cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we met and then we met up and we went to our first dinner.
Yep.
And at that dinner, we also had, one of these long talks that went on forever and ever. And I
Yep.
remember telling you at the dinner that I had this idea about doing this podcast.
Yes.
And now here you are. You're with me on the podcast.
Yes, it's definitely so impressive, Sam, and I've just seen it unfold from the idea when you shared that with me, and just big congratulations to you. I so enjoy listening to your podcast. I sometimes I'll have this experience of when I'm driving, I'm tuning in, and then all of a sudden the phone will ring and it'll be you. And I have to sort out, like, is this friend? Is this the fairy godmother?
Very gay mother.
Mother, yes, the very gay mother. Yeah. Who exactly am I talking to?
Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, I mean, really, this was a concept in my mind. And this is episode number 25. So,
Wow.
and here you are with me, and it's really exciting to have you here. And also the other thing that I really appreciate about you is that you have been listening in, because my audience, I mean, when I initially created this podcast, my idea was that it would really be for people who are like struggling with their sexuality or struggling coming to terms with their sexuality. And I remember when you shared with me that you were listening in to the first couple of episodes, or even the first one that you listened to, you were really excited.
Mm-hmm.
And you also resonated with some of the themes and some of the things that were being spoken about. And you really had like feedback to share and, feelings to share. And I was kind of surprised. And I remember saying to you, Charlotte, do you have something to tell me? And you're like, no. And I was like, okay, well, this is interesting that you're listening to this podcast.
Yeah, and I so appreciate the direct question, Sam. You just have this gift of both being very direct, but doing it in such a gentle and sensitive way, and a thoughtful way. So, I mean, I took a minute and just, is there anything I need to say? And just did a little bit of checking in with all of my parts and was really clear, like, nope, I have nothing to say as far as identifying as a lesbian or a closeted lesbian. But I have so much to say in terms of identifying with this experience of being in a relationship that is boxing you in somehow, where you feel like you're not living authentically, and all of the feelings that come up around that. And in my case in particular, thinking back to one of the things that you and I have in common is we're both divorced and mothers. And I divorced when I was, well, I guess we separated when I was 40. And I had a 6-year-old daughter, and just the incredible feelings of guilt around that. Like, how will this affect my child? How is this affecting my husband at the time? Is this my fault? What did I not do well enough? What did I not address enough in my own therapy, in my own life, in my own journey?
To make the marriage work, you mean?
Yes, to make the marriage work. What did I do going into the marriage with a certain awareness of, whether I thought this would work or not? What did I compromise within myself because I wanted to be a mother, because we had a really special friendship, because I was sort of, at the right stage in my life, right? When either you're going to have this opportunity to have a family or it's going to pass you by. So these are themes that I hear come up over and over again in your podcast. And while I'm not dealing with the experience of, homophobia or feeling marginalized on top of it, which I clearly understand as an additional burden in the society that we're all living in, the other themes really, speak to me. And I love hearing the stories of how people came to terms with it being okay to leave their relationships. And then I also really, really have benefited from hearing how they brought a different thoughtfulness to the next stages of their lives. Yourself included, of course. Yeah, because I think I once commented to you, I don't know if it was your podcast with Steph, there in particular, although so many, reflective moments in all of them, but just the ability to have such a direct conversation with you about your relationship and about what it once was, and what it is now, and what you're hoping to be and hoping it will be, and what went wrong and what went right in its previous iteration, and just thought, wow, I wish I could have that level of conversation with one of the dudes I was with. Not to throw them under the bus entirely. And, I've known some pretty self-reflective men, along the way, and I'm grateful for that. But there's just a different level when you're talking to women.
Yeah.
We're socialized differently, right? We tend to be socialized from the beginning, regardless of culture. We tend to be socialized less hierarchically, more relationally. And I think, obviously variations in personalities and styles and introversion, extroversion, and blah, blah, blah. But, there's just a level of relating that women do, regardless of sexual orientation, that I've just appreciated hearing on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we are kind of like rinsed, maybe a little bit less, of course, depending on the family that you grew up in and the environment you grew up in, because certainly some are even more rinsed. But I think in some ways, girls are less rinsed of their emotions, and they're more allowed. And so I think we're a little more connected to what's happening for us. And then you put two of them together, in a romantic relationship. I mean, certainly also in a friendship, but I think you just get, great conversations that are deeper. And I don't know if it's because I've always been gay, but didn't know I was gay, because I really thought I was straight for 32 years. But I've always had this really deep connection with my girlfriends.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've had these really deep, amazing conversations that, that I would say I have not had with men.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And I do, I do believe that some of this is slowly changing as we're getting those of us who, care about this stuff are getting a little bit more hip to um, how we can socialize boys differently and just raise our kids more equally in that way. But it also
Yeah,
has to do with the worlds that we're finding ourselves in. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, I do actually really appreciate your straightness. Um,
You.
in, in,
I've never gotten that compliment. I'm going to hold on to that, Samantha.
well, I have a reason why,
Yeah.
because I hear from many people that their belief is that all women are attracted to women, but they go with the conditioning and do what they're supposed to do. And, men are protective and stronger and, like you need a man,
Mm-hmm.
like a woman cannot be a partner. You need a man. And so, a lot of women end up with men for that reason, but they all start out really being equally attracted to both genders,
Mm-hmm.
if not more attracted to women. Like this is something I actually hear from women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I do have straight friends. You're not my only straight friend. And I will frequently say, I have straight friends who have experimented sexually with women with their husbands.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, I don't need to do that again. It was a fun one-time experience, but it held nothing for me. I like that, you are here and you have not always fantasized about women, but decided to be with men.
Right.
I believe. And also, I would love to hear a little bit more just about how you grew up and if you were actually exposed to gay people. We're kind of similar in age. We both grew up in New York. We both grew up with Jewish families. So we have some backgrounds similar here. And I'm curious, like, were there any models? Were your parents friends with any gay couples or gay people? Were you exposed to gayness around you in any way? Or was that not really something that you were even aware of?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate the question. So, and just to be even a little bit more specific, grew up in the suburbs of New York.
Same.
Yep. And that's something else we have in common. And specifically, I would say formative years in the 80s. So, no, it's looking back on it, of course, people were all around me, gay and lesbian people were all around me. But it wasn't something that I was really aware of. And to be honest, you're making me think a little bit. I mean, maybe like thinking back on Boy George was like the first person who sort of, is in my mind as not fitting a gender stereotype, and being, kind of present in my life as a pop culture figure. Um, I just think so. No, my parents they did not socialize with gay friends, and it's wasn't like they were conservative or closed minded, and I think it was a combination of people really not being out in the same way and not feeling safe being out. Um, and probably, socializing with my parents, but in heterosexual relationships, presenting as straight. Um, and I think that really, even in college, I mean, I went to a private university in upstate New York, And looking back on it, there were people who I was a women's studies major, and
Oh
I
my gosh.
remember there were definitely women in my class who were, queer and presenting as more, stereotypically with male,
A little more butch.
a little more butch. But it didn't occur to me. I wasn't think. I mean, we were reading all the the Simone de Beauvoir and all the, but it didn't really occur to me that people who I was sitting in class with were gay or queer or lesbians or even trans. Looking back in it, it makes a lot more sense, but it just wasn't in my awareness. And then getting into the mental health world in my early 20s, a number of the therapists who I trained under were gay men. And that's when, it was kind of like, no holds bar. Any questions you have, ask us everything. We're going to take you to gay bars and clubs. We're going to show you around. And it just kind of opened up from there.
And what was that like for you?
I loved it. I just kind of, I was like, I mean, first of all, for any of us who've gone into a, gay club, it's such a relief as a woman. I mean, yes, you want to be respectful of the space, but to be in a club environment, it just, like, this exists too, where you can be around a lot of men and nobody's hitting on you or checking you out. And, that just opened up sort of this whole other place to feel comfortable, and just how fun doing some of the stuff around New York that was more LGBTQ oriented. I do think that, my friendships with lesbian women were later coming than with gay men. And I think it was a little bit more complicated, at least in my own head.
Can you say more about that?
I think it's this piece of, can we really dish about the stuff that women dish about? Is it okay if I talk a lot about, I'm having a crush on this boy? Am I going to sound, sort of retro, or like I'm not being inclusive? If I really spend a lot of time talking about some of the things, some of the kind of more airheady things that straight women might talk about, or some straight women, clothes, makeup, that kind of stuff. So kind of feeling like I had to bring maybe a different level of seriousness or substance to my conversation, which, is just a just lack of experience and ignorance, right? Because we all talk about whatever we're interested in. There's no right or wrong, or if sometimes you click with people, sometimes you don't. I think
there was a little intimidation.
A little intimidation, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then, also this big topic of, how do you navigate whether somebody you're becoming friends with is also attracted to you, which you don't have to navigate potentially when you're with a straight woman or when you're with a gay man. You do have to navigate it. And that was really my only experience, was, trying to navigate it with straight men.
Yes.
And that was often a disaster. So
in terms of navigating it felt hard to navigate with straight men.
The idea of a platonic friendship.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So I think maybe in my head a little bit, and just sort of being concerned about not leading people on, or not, becoming friends with somebody who already has a female partner, or a man who already has a female partner, and how is that going to be construed? What's the friendship? And also, to be quite honest, not really feeling like I needed a lot of male friends, and vibing better with women in general. But, kind of got to a place of like writing off, like, I don't want to deal with it. And really my only, straight male friends are like really good friends, husbands
Mm-hmm.
at this point in my life.
Mm-hmm. And that feels safe.
And that feels safe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then, taking that framework and fairly or unfairly putting it on the potential for a relationship with a lesbian woman, I think was sort of like, oh, this could get messy.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I can bring it to meeting you, Sam, if that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
was it, I'm curious if that, I mean, it's so interesting. It's true. Like what I hear what you're saying. I know it's complicated to be friends with men, and I know sometimes, because I was seemingly straight for many, many years till I was 32. So, there were men that I would try to put a boundary up with and say that I was not interested romantically in any way, but I'm okay being friends. And then they would seem to like push the boundary,
Mm-hmm.
even if it was just dropping little like remarks along the way
Mm-hmm.
that were somehow like sexual, which I really did not appreciate once I had made it clear that I was not interested, but they just kept trying. So
Yeah.
that's uncomfortable.
It is. It's uncomfortable for all of us, and it's fascinating. I think if I put my therapist hat on, is sort of like what's going on inside of their heads that they think it's so important to push it and prove masculinity, and quite frankly, I think a big part of it is their own homophobia. Um, being raised in a culture where you're supposed to prove that you're a particular type of man, and if other men are seeing me flirting with women, it doesn't matter who these women are, and they're interested in me, they're responding, then okay, I've proven that I'm not gay.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah, I could see that. Well, it's very irritating. But but I guess it's not their, not that it's not their fault. I mean, it's part of the conditioning, right? It's part
Right,
of.
it's part of the conditioning, and I'd say that in addition to being irritating, it's also I think about maybe what I have missed out on by not having friendships with men or people who are different from me, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, I mean, maybe, well, here's a whole other theme we can explore, Sam, which is like maybe as we get to be older women and we become safer, right? Because we're less sexualized by society. Maybe it will have sort of this positive byproduct of allowing us to be sort of closer with some, to take that edge out of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because I don't have any male friends that are straight. But I do have friends that are gay, women that are lesbians who do have male straight friends. And there's like this respect. There's like a broness between them, Yeah, I somehow never got that. But
Mhm.
I think that there's a safety somehow when you're not straight and you're a lesbian that I don't know, somehow guys don't need to prove anything anymore. Like right? So they're not gonna hit on you. They're not gonna keep trying. And then maybe there's more of a safe space to really create a friendship.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and likewise, probably for the gay men that I'm friends with, they don't have to be proving anything to me.
Right, right. So going back to this idea that, there's difficulty with straight men as a straight woman. There's potential difficulty with lesbian women as a straight woman. So was there a point in life where that became more of an awareness for you as you befriended maybe lesbians that were colleagues? I don't know. Like, before you and I became friends, were there other situations where you bumped up against that?
Yeah. I mean, I think another really safe space for me to do some of that learning in was, as a therapist. I've had numerous clients who are of all different sexual orientations, backgrounds, identities. And, in the sense that there's an understanding of the boundary in a therapeutic relationship,
Mm-hmm.
it allowed for me to really get to know people in a way that I wouldn't have perhaps felt as comfortable otherwise. Now, of course, they weren't getting to know of all the juicy details about me.
Right.
But early on, I remember a couple of lesbian clients who I really got to know them very well and got to work with them through a number of different challenges in their lives. And I think that was one way that I really, that world opened up to me. And yes, at times you have to, you always have to be aware of sort of what we call the erotic transference, right? Which is like how our clients feel towards us, how we feel towards our clients. And my belief is that I created a safe enough space where clients of different orientations could explore that with me if and when it came up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was in a clinical setting, more therapeutic
Yeah,
relationships, which
yeah,
certainly,
yeah.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
I think just in a social setting, certainly with other moms at the school where my daughter went, the
gay
camp,
moms, gay
gay
moms, or okay,
gay, gay moms, and coworkers.
and did you find yourself holding yourself differently with those women, knowing that they were gay? Like, was there a little bit more protectiveness, or?
I think that I have to think about that. There may have been a bit more protectiveness on both of our sides. I think I didn't find it as easy to really get in there and, just open up and talk and shoot the shit the way that you and I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think with coworkers a bit more because we would see each other every day and we were going through, the ups and downs in life. I think, at school it was more kind of talking about what was going on at the school and,
Mm-hmm.
events on the weekends and things like that, scheduling play dates,
Yeah.
but not getting into stuff as much.
Yeah. Okay. So then take me to what it was like for you to, because I actually approached you when we met.
You did.
Yeah. And I
Although
was,
I will give myself some credit because just to paint the picture a bit, I think, I was thinking, why did this work so well? Like how did, because, there has to be an energy that just, you have to have an openness, right? And I was recently empty nesting
mm-hmm,
and had, like yourself,
mm-hmm,
purchased my very first standalone home, became a
mm-hmm,
homeowner,
mm-hmm.
the badass women that we are with our homes and learning all about the wrong, dealing with all the men that come and try to fix them.
Yes. And sometimes me pulling out my drill and saying, I fixed it myself.
Each other props. I
Yes.
mow the lawn.
You mowing your lawn, exactly.
We have to admit, we're like city people coming up to the country, so it's a whole other issue. But anyway, so and we all were in a circle and we were introducing ourselves, and I think I had, without really giving it much thought, just said, like, I've recently relocated up here and I really want to make some friends. And I envisioned, excuse me, after a long day of doing virtual treatment with folks, getting together in the evening and being with a physical person. So maybe that landed in a certain way for you and made me a little bit more approachable, but I put it out there.
Yeah. And I came over.
Mm-hmm.
And then we
Yeah.
met and exchanged information. And we had that first dinner where I shared with you this podcast that we are doing right now, and a little bit more about, just ideas that I have and what I'm doing. And you shared a little bit about your background and what you've been doing and
Yeah.
trainings and whatnot.
And so easy to talk to you,
Yeah.
and we right from I think, I said, it felt like meeting a new friend who was actually an old friend. And we do have quite a bit in common. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So tell me about the piece though, where like I'm a lesbian and you're a straight woman, and sometimes that can create a little bit of discomfort or concern on your behalf.
Yeah. And here we were meeting at a restaurant one-on-one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Essentially like our first date. I mean,
Yeah.
not that I think either of us brought that vibe per se, but you could zoom out and, be like, huh, this is interesting. So, yeah, I mean, I had a little bit of just anxiety around like, how does this all work? Like, I want to be friends with this woman. I feel like we're getting to know each other and this could be a nice friendship. And going off of my past experiences with straight men,
Mm-hmm.
really, as well as, I always have a part that's sort of a caretaker part, right? And just wanting to be open about not leading somebody on and not really knowing how you establish kind of, is this going to cross into that area? And I had no idea of, what's your type or who you're attracted to.
I remember you were like, let me see a picture of who your type is. Right?
Right. And that was like, okay, now I know.
Yeah. Androgynous. Yes.
But, like very like cute.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then also I kind of also just had in my mind that you've probably had a lot more experience than I had with bridging this particular piece, and kind of felt like I'm just going to let it unfold. And I'm sure, Sam's a therapist and this is her area of expertise, and she's going to she's going to be able to kind of take us through this, and if it even is something to be taken through. And somehow we got onto the topic of sexual fantasies very quickly.
Oh, really? On our first dinner?
It might have been the second. But honestly, I think it was under the guise of, it must have been about something with our clients.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I don't think we were like directly asking each other about our sexual, but it had something to do with clients. And, I just kind of jumped in and said, well, this is what I tend to sexually fantasize about, which happens to be two men together.
That's right.
This is the type of porn that I, find myself consuming.
Yeah, it was a gay male porn.
Gay male porn.
Yeah.
Which, and I hope this is okay for your listeners, but it's just like the more penis, the better, and just wasn't and haven't gravitated towards porn that really focuses on women, with the exception of sort of inserting myself in the position of the woman, but not envisioning myself with this woman.
Yeah, I mean that's something. It's interesting because I'm not a porn person in that I don't actually engage in porn. I have a very active fantasy mind, but yeah. But it's interesting. I sometimes hear women talk about when they watch heterosexual porn, and these are women that are just coming into their sexuality, that they they are actually embodying, just like you're talking about, you're embodying the woman, they're embodying the man. So when they're watching straight
Interesting. Yeah.
porn, they
Yeah.
are feeling like they are watching it from the perspective and feeling the perspective of being the man.
Yes, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah, which I always thought was really fascinating, just because I haven't had that particular experience myself.
Yeah.
So I love hearing about that. And I remember when you shared this with me, and it might have been at the first dinner. It was the first or second time we had dinner. But I thought it was super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I was like, oh, that's really interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and look, we all have the things that turn us on. And there is no right or wrong with that, even though, society might tell us that we shouldn't be turned on by X, Y, or Z. But like fantasy is fantasy too, like
Yeah.
there's space for that, whatever it is.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So, okay. So going back, so you were like, well, how does this work? She's a lesbian. She's very open. We have great conversations. I want to make sure that she knows that I'm not open to women. Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably, yeah, to keep us both safe. Yes.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. I mean, I honestly never thought about it,
Mm-hmm.
which is so funny, right? Ever. Like I just never thought about it. And I think typically, and this might be different, everybody's different, right? But I think some women that, possess a little bit more masculinity, or even maybe a little bit more butchness. I've heard women talk about kind of like turning straight women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like a notch on their belt kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have never even thought of something like that. So when somebody is straight, to me, they're straight. So
Yeah.
there is no there with somebody who says that they're straight. It's not like there's anything that's like it's just like a clear, it's just very clear. In the same way a man would be clear to me, a
Yeah.
straight woman is the same amount of clear, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. And I think that speaks also to you
Yes.
and your sense of self, right? Because there are certainly, folks among us who may have that same sense of like, yeah, like she's straight, I'm gay, or
I'm
he's
going to try.
whatever. But it's still, there's some part inside of them that needs to be wanted or desired, or regardless of sexuality.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. And I don't possess a lot of that part, I would say.
Yeah.
The part I find myself, and maybe this is later in life part, is I want to desire somebody else. And
Mm-hmm.
that is difficult. I find that very difficult. I mean, I can't find anybody to desire. It's kind of like, geez, what is happening here? But I don't have any desire to be desired that I'm aware of. I'm sure once I'm in a relationship, I like to know at least that I'm desired in different ways. But I still like to be the one that kind of holds the desire
Uh-huh.
and that also initiates, and I think that has a lot to do with my own history. But so, yeah,
100%. And again, I think, any beginning of a friendship, we're still feeling each other out, and we don't know a whole lot about the other one's history, although, two therapists sitting down can really share history like wildfire. Um, but, there's a little bit of sort of like, which parts of this person are going to come out and how might it get confusing versus and how might each of us feel safe or not safe, and I think that's something that probably has more to do with my own history.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you shared that with me. And I really was so, it's interesting that I was so very unaware, and maybe now I'll be more aware in the future with straight friends that are new, to maybe even make it clear so that they don't have to.
I'm going to push back on that though, because I don't know if that's your job. I think that, and I don't know if now sort of having that consciousness about like, because of your experience with me, that needs to interrupt your experience with other women.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a certain sort of like authenticity that you showed up with that I don't know if I would go changing it, Sam. I'm gonna own the bringing that extra level to it in our interaction.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it's like, it's a layer of awareness that I didn't have.
Mm,
And you brought it, but now I can see that. And I think it could be, I don't know, like it could be something to just check in on with somebody, just so that, I don't know, now that I'm aware of it, I think for me, it doesn't mean I'm not being authentic. It just might be like a check-in,
yeah,
like
yeah,
a clear the air kind of thing. And it's interesting because this is a topic that many women have shared with me when they come out later, that their straight friends, when they come out to them, now these are women in their 40s and 50s who have huge communities of straight friends,
yeah.
are going to wonder if they were attracted to them. They are worried that their friends are going to think that all along during their friendship that they have been fantasizing about them,
Right.
and that they have been sexualizing them. And it's like a really difficult place that they find themselves to come out to their straight friends. And so, yeah, I think yeah, what were we going to say?
And maybe occasionally there is something, right? And I mean, I remember hearing somebody else who came on your podcast, and I'm forgetting her name, but where she expressed this moment of relief with a very close friend of hers who she had known for a long time, when she did sort of express some attraction, and then the woman said, no, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm flattered, but I'm actually not attracted to you. I'm attracted to men. And if I'm remembering correctly, it was just this way of then like the relationship could relax. And I think it also, this isn't anything that anybody's doing wrong, right? Like if
No.
you happen to be attracted to your friend and you express it and it doesn't go forward, it's
Yes.
like at least you tried,
Yeah.
and
And you were honest.
you were honest, and
Yes.
hopefully you've been picking friends all along who can, accept you for who you are and continue to enjoy all of the beautiful things about the friendship in the first place.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I guess it can be complicated. I can see that it can be complicated. I think it's certainly possible to catch feelings for somebody and for them to say like, I'm really, really straight. I'm really, really straight. And I kind of think of it but I'm flattered,
Right.
right? Like I kind of feel like if a man were to tell me he was attracted to me, I'd be like, oh, that's really flattering. Thank you.
Yeah. If he said it in a nice, respectful
Yes. Yes.
way. Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Not with a sexual innuendo, but like actually, yeah.
Right. And I think to be able to take that in as something that's a positive reflection of oneself without than having to attach all kinds of stories or baggage or whatever onto it. And you know, it takes, what does it take? It takes just acceptance
Yeah, which is
of
hard.
oneself. Yeah.
Which is also really hard with, with society and with the
Yeah.
conditioning.
Yeah.
There's the acceptance, and then what comes after that is actually like embracing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes the acceptance is there, but there's still feelings of, I accept that I am gay, but I still feel embarrassed. I still feel
Right.
some shame
Right.
around this.
Right. The self-acceptance. Right. Yeah.
Right. So, and then you move into well, how do I really embrace this? Which
Yeah.
is like having more self-compassion around all of it.
Oh, yeah. It takes a lot, right?
It really does.
My goodness.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, I just really appreciate this conversation, just as all of our conversations, that we could probably just keep going for a few more hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
And also, I think I'll just add to this the other piece about, it takes acceptance, and it also takes sort of this broader view that we are so many things, right? And we connect on so many different parts of our life. Yes, there are these defining identities, but there are so many more too.
Yes. Yes.
So how to live with, and I mean, you speak about this, it's the both and. It's like, yes, I am a straight white Jewish woman living in New York and a mom and a blah 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 and all of these things, and I connect with people across all of these different identities. Society may force me into one particular box more than the other, but I am a complex person.
Yes. You
and
are.
So are you.
Yes. We are.
Beautiful way.
Exactly. All the messiness.
Yes.
Right? I love that. And it feels a little bit like, because we have such a close friendship, and I mean it's not even a year old, our friendship, but it is. It's like I've known you forever. It's like I grew up with you.
Yeah.
Right? So and then that this also is for you like a really, I don't know, like a learning experience also.
Yeah, which I
Right?
welcome and appreciate. Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being you and for showing up in my life in all of the best ways and laughing with me endlessly.
Yeah. Who knew
Yeah.
that it would have been, in the back little mountains of New York.
I love it. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing yourself with my audience.
My pleasure. My
And
pleasure.
I will talk to you very soon.
Sounds good. All right.
Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find these conversations. If you're ready to unbox from something that's keeping you stuck, I would love to support you. You can find the application to the show at unboxyoursexuality.com. Let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lesbian Curiosity Coach. Give me a follow and join the conversation. Remember, we only have this one time through. Why not unbox yourself and let your true self shine in all its beautiful glory?